Carl Sagan, was Rand Paul talking about abortion with the Gattaca plagiarism? Rachel Maddow just played the clip, and I assume he was using the analogy against the Affordable Care Act and death panels in reverse or some such nonsense. No, he was talking about abortion. That's the thing that's been missed over and over again. Rand Paul has to pretend that he's a libertarian. Now, with that said, look, we've had hundreds of libertarians, I don't know, hundreds, but a lot, call into this program. And almost every one of them to a person says that everybody else who's called in is not really a libertarian. I've never found a libertarian who will acknowledge anyone else being a libertarian except for that person. Well, what am I saying? Him. It's always a him. But Rand Paul calls himself a libertarian. Ron Paul called himself a libertarian. They're just neo-Confederates, frankly. But be that as it may, he's got to maintain this posture to keep some of the young people, the young men who supported his father, in the fold. But now he's seeing Ted Cruz, who's a real knee bender, as it were, take over the fundamentalist wing of the party, which includes the Tea Party. So Rand Paul has to make this strident argument about being anti-choice. But he still wants to maintain his bona fides as someone who believes that personal liberty is the most important thing. Personal liberty is the most important thing. So how do I square personal liberty with having the government say what a woman can do with her own body? Well, of course, Gattaca. Because if we allow for abortion now, what we will get in the not too distant future, I think is the way they phrased it in Gattaca, Ibid, is that it leads to eugenics, where they will abort based upon genetics. And so that's why we can't go down this road of abortion, because of science fiction. That's the story. He's having to square that circle, and he can't do it. But not only is that the story now, because, we all know that, or we don't all know this, but those of us who are a little bit older remember Joe Biden having to exit the 1988 Democratic primaries because he plagiarized a speech by a British Labour Party leader at the time. And there was a time in this country where it was Neil Kinnock, and there was a time in this country where intellectual honesty was actually an attribute that people said they wanted, as opposed to being a ways to denigrate people. But George Bush successfully completed the Republican right-wing anti-intellectual jihad. Because you got to, Gertrude Himmelfarb was talking about this back in the day. We need to undercut science, because then we can do whatever we want. If there is no objective of truth in terms of in terms of science, then who cares about data points about poverty at that point? And so I didn't really cover this plagiarism thing with Rand Paul, because the question was, is this going to hurt his electoral chances? No! There's nobody on the right who cares about this at all. I don't know if there's anybody on the left, but there's definitely none of his supporters could care less. Another story comes out, who cares? However, there apparently is a very small slice, not necessarily of his supporters, but of I, based upon what I'm reading in this New York Times piece, I think it's his dad. Okay, because yes, apparently his Washington Times, is that it?
Yes.
The Mooney owned Washington Times.
He had a Washington Times column, a weekly column that they.
Yes. Well, they
nicked.
found that he plagiarized in that too. I think it was BuzzFeed found that he had plagiarized there. So they decided we're not going to do this column anymore because we have to pretend like we're outraged by this. It's not like we could have just taken your column and, this is the way you search for plagiarism, folks. You take a column and you go paragraph by paragraph or maybe just sentence by sentence, and you put it in Google and see if it shows up somewhere else, like, for instance, in the Weekly magazine, as apparently, but whatever. So he acknowledged on Tuesday that mistakes in his office had caused unattributed writing by others to appear in his own work and announced that he was instituting safeguards to prevent such breaches from happening again. But listen to this. Mr. Paul said he resented implications from those he termed haters, that he had sought to dishonestly take other people's work as his own. And this is what he said to, I guess he said this to the Time. What we're going to do from here forward, if it will make people leave me the hell alone, is we're going to do them like college papers. We're going to try and put out footnotes. We have made mistakes, but they've never been intentional. Okay, well, there you go. He's just really sloppy in the way that he copies. Like, nobody intentionally copied it. We didn't intentionally mean to be caught as plagiarists. I'm sure he didn't know. It's also what people hate about politics, and it's why, frankly, members of my family are not too interested in politics, period. I don't know if he's aware that his dad was a congressman for some 20-odd years and ran for president multiple times, whatever. Or wanting me to do this, more of this. To tell you the truth, people can think what they want. I can go back to being a doctor anytime. If they're tired of me, I'll go back to being a doctor. I'll be perfectly content. All right, do it. But of course, he's not going to do that. But it really does sound to me like his dad is pissed off at him. I mean, who's he talking about? Why is he getting so antsy? Somebody's obviously, he doesn't care what Rachel Maddow says, does he?
He did challenge her to a duel.
Oh, well, sounds to me like somebody's getting really pissy for some reason. Let's go to the phone. You call him from a 203 area code. Who is this?
Hey there, it's Jay from North Haven.
Hello, Jay from North Haven.
Hey, I just wanted to mention, about Senator Rand Paul. He lifted quotes or verbiage from Associated Press articles. And
why are you a hater? Are you a college professor?
Well, the thing is that is copyrighted material. That's somebody's private property. And as a libertarian, he should know that you cannot violate somebody's private property rights, right? And the funny thing is that if you think that that's not very serious, think about what Shepard Fairey is thinking right now. He used an AP photograph as the basis for his famous Obama Hope poster.
Yeah.
And he got his ass sued off for using that without permission, attribution, or payment. And I wonder, in this land of justice and freedom and personal property rights, is Associated Press going to sue Rand Paul?
I hope so.
For, I wonder.
I hope so.
Or is he going to get a different style of justice than Shepard Fairey? I just wonder.
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a great question. I appreciate the call, Jay. He's right. I mean, why you go after the Hope poster?
Honestly, I feel like if they don't go after him, it's more so because the society today values words less than they do something like a photograph or a video or a film.
Well, but it's still copyrighted material, and the question is, if Rand Paul can get away with it, why can't the rest of us?